Wi-Fi?
I do.
I'm glad yours is working.
Well,
Can you share?
yes, I do.
And they took the password off the wall.
I know, I seen it.
So everybody must know that we're short-staffed because
I know.
Is here-
It's kind of like that little citizen out there, though.
I talked to her. She got like 2 hours worth of stuff.
Okay,
You only get 3 minutes. Right?
that's
That's
right.
right.
She'll have to be
The meeting I
several
was
people.
at today, they only give
Different
us,
addresses.
the meeting I was at today, they only give them 90 seconds. That was nice.
Here we go.
Okay.
I feel like this is New Year's Eve.
I feel like there's an echo in here.
There is. I need a few more people. Can you get some in?
Good evening and welcome to the Muscatine Schools Monday, June 11th Board of Education meeting. We would like to welcome you to our meeting, and we're going to ask Lisa to take the roll call and determine a quorum.
Director Bauer,
Here.
DeVete, Draba, Finn, Mather,
Here.
McCarter,
Here.
Wildermuth.
Here.
The quorum is present.
Thank you. So we'll rise and recite the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So we'd like to welcome those in the audience at home and here in the City Hall. And I don't see any media representatives present, but welcome to you as well.
She is. She is.
Oh, you are media. Sorry. Okay, well, welcome. And who are you with? The Journal. Okay. We're used to seeing Zach, so we didn't think it was Zach. So our next item will be Citizen Speaks. And anyone that is wanting to speak to the board should come to the podium, and you'd have 3 minutes to state your interest. Seeing no one here, we'll move on. So, board targets and goal report. I don't think we have anything, do we?
No.
Okay. Then we're going to move to possible action items. We have 4 items. The following items are considered to be routine by the Board of Education and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless the director so requests, in which event the item will be removed from the consent agenda and considered in its normal sequence from the agenda. So the 4 items are the minutes, the employment recommendations, the bills and claims, and a student teaching agreement. Does anybody want anything removed, or can we make a motion to consent on these items?
Move to approve. I'll second that.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Will there be any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Our next item is a contract with Performance Health and Fitness LLC for registered dietitian services. And Jerry or Alicia?
I think I'm going to turn that over to Alicia and Tom.
Okay, so in your board book, there was a 1-page synopsis of what this contracted service is. And we employed one for about 8 years until 2 years ago, and we haven't been able to secure one until now. 2 individuals that work for two different companies were interviewed, and the company that would employ the person is from the company's Performance Health and Fitness LLC. And so on the board book document, it explains what this person would do. So the cost is $60 per hour and approximately 520 hours the first year, but that'll probably go down after the first year for the number of hours. Any questions on that, or?
What have we been doing in the absence of one over the last couple of years?
Yeah, I mean, Alicia's been doing what she could do. I mean, she's not really the person qualified to do it, but we've been getting by, I guess.
She's been, I almost said grandfathered. Yeah, it is a required position now to have a licensed dietitian, and Alicia has been kind of doing some of that, again, kind of grandfathered in, but we probably need to get that filled.
So we're looking at about quarter-time role for this, right?
Yeah, with, well, whatever, 520 hours
Right.
per
30
year.
grand.
Is it
It's a quarter.
about 10 hours per week? Yeah.
And we've had some references that feel pretty comfortable with this organization? Okay.
Both of the individuals that I met with consulted with the nursing homes, a couple of nursing homes here in town.
Okay.
And after visiting with both of them a couple of different times, the one from Coralville office seemed to be the better fit for our district. In the second year, we do anticipate less hours. During the first year, she's gonna, first of all, doesn't have experience in the school sector, but does have experience with compliance and regulations
Okay.
with the nursing homes. But it will also entail her training, giving her training on the software program that we use
Okay.
for nutrient analysis and developing menus for just different modifications that are pretty like diabetics and some pretty standard ones. But she also will offer some nutritional education and liaison with physicians and between the school nurses and.
Okay. All right, thank you.
So would someone like to make a motion to approve the contract?
So moved.
Would there be a second?
Second.
So it's been moved and seconded to approve a contract with Performance Health and Fitness LLC for registered dietitian services. Are there any questions, other questions? All in favor then?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. The next item on the agenda is to approve wraparound pilot project with a private provider. I think, Dr. Reeby, you have some details?
Yeah, we had talked about, a few months ago about looking at some ways to enhance some enrollment numbers, maybe at Colorado and Mulberry. And one of the things we had looked at is if we were able to provide wraparound services before and after care, if that would help. And so we put that word out that that might be a possibility. Deb Wilk reached out to a number of private providers, and we had one that was interested in taking this on. This would be obviously a for-profit. We would be looking at piloting this year in those two schools, and if it's successful, then we would want to look at expanding this to the other elementaries, at which time we would want to put out an RFP and see if, there were, there may be some competition for it. But at this point, the person, the provider that's interested in doing this, To the Moon and Back childcare, they're not sure if they need 10 kids to make this work. We basically are providing the space, and so I think it's something that we should. There's really no risk to the district. There's nothing out there that we're not putting any finances on the line here. If it works, it could be a great service for parents. If it doesn't, we know that we need to look at a plan B. So what we would do if the board would move this way is we would just draw up a memorandum of understanding of what this would look like and have our school attorney put together some things and move forward with that. But again, it would be this year as a pilot to see how it works, and hopefully it's wildly successful, and all the buildings would have that opportunity next year.
So Colorado and Mulberry, you said?
Yes.
What would their hours be?
Let's see, from 7 to 8 in the morning and 3 to 5:30 in the afternoon.
Okay.
The afternoon, after school, they would provide a snack for the kids. In the morning for breakfast, the kids would need to purchase a breakfast from the breakfast program. And we did make that K-5 to expand the numbers, because for some parents, it would be difficult to have one at school and one somewhere.
Anybody else have any other questions?
And payment for these services will be directly between the parent and the provider. We will not be in the middle on that.
So we're not paying for anything?
No,
Do we have any kind of increased insurance costs or anything
No.
like that?
no.
Good deal.
We're offering the space, right?
We're offering the space and the chance to see if this is something that could work.
Is it limited to folks with kids at those schools?
You know, that's kind of what we had looked at. I think depending if there was interest, we could certainly look at increasing it. They would have to have transportation to that school.
Sure.
That's one that we're not providing any transportation for any of this either.
And how much is it gonna cost the parents, do we know?
It is $75 a week.
Thanks.
And for both before and after, $50 a week for just after-school care.
It's not bad.
And so,
So what's your pleasure? Would someone like to make a motion?
I'll move to approve this as a pilot for this coming school year.
And a second?
I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded to approve a wraparound pilot project with a private provider for Mulberry and Colorado schools before and after school programming. Is there any other discussion?
Just one other question, would this provider, assuming the pilot is successful, be capable of expanding it to the whole district?
you know, I think if it's successful, they would be. But again, I think if it is successful and we want to expand this in interest of the, to be in fairness for a competitive fairness, I think we'd want to put the proposal out.
Sure, okay.
So it's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. The next item is to approve food service vendor contracts. Do you want to take these individually or as a group?
I will explain 1 through 4, and then you can choose to do them all at the same
Okay,
time.
all right.
So,
So go for it.
so numbers 1 and 3 are part of the Eastern Iowa Purchasing Group consortium that we belong to. Cedar Rapids is kind of the head lead school district on this, so they do all the bidding for these 2 contracts. And so they came back with Anderson Erickson and for bread and milk, and Beanbo for bakery. I'm sorry, just milk is Anderson Erickson. That's about around $115,000 for our school district, and the bakery contract is around $37,000 per year. The Little Caesars Pizza in the board book, I think there was a short write-up of how we determined going with Little Caesars, and if you have any questions on that, that's fine. And then the Aramark contract is just an extension, and I'm sorry, the Little Caesars could potentially be around $35,000 for this coming school year. And the Aramark is an extension of their current year contract. It's a much smaller contract for $6,000, but nonetheless, it's one we want to get approval to extend for another year.
Tom, could you explain to me how the Little Caesars contract works? Do they come in and provide everything and it's charged separately, or how does that
Yep.
work?
I'll have Alicia speak on that, so.
Everything is delivered, and it's fully cooked and cut, and we just place it on a tray to serve the kids.
Okay. And what do we charge for a piece of pizza?
We charge $1.50 for a
Okay.
slice, but it also meets the regulations for a school lunch.
Okay. So, and out of curiosity, was Little Caesars the 84 cents or the 75 cents?
They're actually at 75.
Really? I like that.
Mine too.
So then we don't make money though. It's a cost to us to provide that, even though we charge roughly double the price?
It is, but our average cost of a high school meal is $3.05.
Sure. Okay. So I guess that's great that we can do it for cheaper, but I'm just wondering why we don't make any money if we're charging more than it costs.
Well, we do, with the reimbursement, if we consider the reimbursement, and this, I don't have our à la carte sales with us, but $1.25 is for à la carte sales.
Okay.
The reimbursable meal is, at free student, we make 29 cents, a reduced student, we make 29 cents. This is only at the high school level, and paid students, we make 47 cents.
Okay.
So there's
We have
some.
a loss at breakfast, so.
I see. So when you say the cost is 35,000, is that just an upfront cost and we
That would
recoup
be
it on
the-
the back end?
That would be the
Got
cost.
it. Okay,
yeah.
that's what I was struggling with. Thank you very
Okay,
much.
sorry about that. Yep.
We'd like to
bet they would not hate that.
I'm wondering about the board office, if it should
Yeah,
be
right.
piloted there, maybe.
You get the leftovers.
So,
That's the problem,
Need
and
to
we
order-
don't want any
Yeah,
leftovers
that's
either,
exactly right.
so.
I need to order one more, then
Ah.
there'll be one for you.
So are there any other questions germane to these 4 contracts? If not, would someone like to make a motion to approve them as one package here?
So moved.
And would there be a second?
Second.
So it's been moved and seconded to approve the following contracts for food service. Anderson Erickson for a milk contract, Little Caesar's Pizza for a pizza contract, Bimbo Bakery for contract extension, and Aramac contract extension for laundry services, all for the 2018-19 year. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All of those are approved then. Thank you. Okay, Tom, we're over to
Okay.
you now. Oh, April financials.
okay, April financials were in the board book. Just the one comment I'll make on April treasurer's report is it says, the month showing our second large property tax payment. And I don't have any other comments on the line item general fund, portion and, our UAB. I put in there the activity fund, made notes where needed, and then the last report is the nutrition through April. And so next month, we will have the month of May in addition to some other nutrition reports for the end of the year stuff, so. I think nothing, no red flags or anything for me to point out on any of it, so.
The end of the year should look pretty well on track then.
Yes, just a fun time of year in finance.
All the correct
All the
adjustments.
time is fun.
I was gonna say, isn't every time fun in finance?
Nathan, you got questions? You're over there adding, subtracting?
No, I'm just looking at the percentage ratio, so they look good.
So moving along, I don't have any announcements unless someone else does. Other than our July 9th meeting is our next regular board meeting here at City Hall. And we have a really short agenda tonight. So would someone like to make a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
There be a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
We did it.
All right.
This might have been the one that I should have opposed
We could have.
and just shut
But
down. I mean, just-
They'll have to show reruns of previous.